Hello and welcome to the Weekend Spread presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. This is the Schooner Pod's weekly college football pick'em podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, as always, we've got Jameson Maxwell, Ty Lee, and Boaton Blake, the captain himself. And fellas, look, last week was a bye week for us OU fans. It was an interesting week, ups, downs. I made a good run. I went 7-3. Could have been a lot better, but we won't talk about that. But I don't know. We don't have a lot of college football left. We're in the final stretch, and this race is starting to narrow out a bit. So, Blake, I completely forgot to take – Jameson's leading, right? Not Blake, right?
Yes,
Jameson
it's the
is.
second week in a row. You
podcast.
cheated me.
I didn't
Jameson,
cheat you.
they are
least
tied
I
on
asked.
wins. You're confused because they are tied on wins.
All
Blake
that
has
all
one
that
more
matters are
loss.
L's.
That's right.
All
That's
that
true.
matters are L's.
That is
You're
true.
gonna have to use that pot of greed at one point, boy.
What if he just holds on? We have to force him into using
We
it,
don't.
right?
Yes.
there is no rule that says he has to.
What?
Ooh.
I thought that's the
If
whole
he-
point.
If he does not use the pot of greed, it will be an automatic loss.
There. Yeah.
I don't like this rule being
I don't like- I feel
instated
like that's
in,
a word.
in the middle of already people using their pot of greeds. Is this another ex post facto here, Blake?
This seems like it.
Well, that
Take
is
some
how-
accords.
that is how
Here's the
the-
thing, I want to use the video clip again before the end of the season, and I'd be upset if, due to strategic
Patience.
cowardice, it was never used. So,
Patience,
anyways,
young Bobbert.
okay, we'll see. I know you're just savoring. I know you have one circled down the line at some point, but yeah. So, Jameson, how you feeling? On top, doing good. I don't know. Are you nervous down the stretch? Or are you feeling comfy?
I mean, I feel all right. I'm just picking. Here's the thing. I went 5-5 last week, and usually that's pretty decent. But y'all 6-4, 6-4, 7-3. Y'all are creeping up, and I started off bad. Like I think I started off 1-5, and then I hit off 4 straight to get me to 5-5. So things were looking a little bit scary. But 46-37 on the year. That's consistency. Let me tell you. So that's good. You won't get that anywhere else.
Oh,
Except for
no.
with Blake. He's still muted.
You can't figure it out.
I was muted. I was muted because So for the listeners who cannot see because it's a a visual medium on YouTube, I am currently eating a quesadilla. So if you hear me hopefully I don't accidentally go to mute, but I do not want to make this a quesadilla AMSR. So that mute button will be on me. So but Blake, what about your week, man?
This week, honestly, fantastic. The Big 12 continuing to produce great games, and the frogs keep rolling. The luckiest team in America. I'm loving it. And look, I know Jameson was getting a little, in my, I don't know what you were doing. You were trying to discredit, but all hail
He's
Hypnotoad. Let's go. Frogs by 90, baby. Hypnotoad is leading the charge, and college football playoff, maybe, who knows? We got a few more
He said
games
the P
left.
word. He said the P word.
I did have to put, I will tell the listeners this, I did have to put in my holiday vacation days, and I did put one in for December 30th, so.
I'm telling you. Wow, okay. The
I have to.
chips are on
I
the
had
table.
to, because if we do make it, the good thing is, if we don't make it and still win the Big 12, then we get Sugar Bowl, and I really want to go to a Sugar Bowl in New Orleans on New Year's. I think it'd be awesome. But I have to plan. I have to plan ahead. I just don't know. The problem is we're running out of room. We're running out of room when TCU can lose. I don't want it to be against West Virginia. Definitely not Texas Tech. Definitely not Texas Tech. And I hate that I'm going to be with two of y'all that weekend. When that's happening, that I can't hide. Texas, understandable. Can't be Baylor. And then Iowa State, that would just be irony. So, but yeah, I'm hyped about the Frogs. Another comeback win, taking out quarterbacks. I guess that's what we do these days. But yeah,
Bounty Gate with the frogs.
Bounty Gate, 30 for 30 in a decade.
I guess so. Ty, your thoughts on everything? I know I kind of crept up. It looked like you were about to kind of start running away from the back, at least running away from me. I was spiraling into just L's, but no, like it's kind of a tight race for the bottom now, Ty.
Well, it's a tight race across the board. I think I'll have to pull up the numbers real quick, but I think really no one is really. Yeah, I'm only three wins behind Jameson and Blake currently. So we are very, very tight across the board. I know that they will make their arguments that they are light years ahead. We are very tranched currently in you and I being separated by one win and loss, and then those two being separated by one win and loss. But we're certainly keeping it close all the way through the season, which is funny. Just a razor's edge above 500. But yeah, pretty good weekend. I'm super happy about my Hawaii pick. That was just a great strategic move to push the vote to get that game on the slate, because I was the only one that profited from that. And then, I was severely punished by believing in UCLA. The Clemson one was just rough, and then lost on Ole Miss, and then of course lost on A&M, of course, because they lost in the most, or they didn't cover in the most A&M way possible by allowing the opening kick to come back and then just really dominating the rest of the game after just being embarrassed in the first quarter. So rough weekend overall in terms of gambling. Probably a good time that OU was off.
Yeah, for sure. And the Island Boys on being on island for the Island Boys of Hawaii was a good strategy. That was one of my two bad beats. That one, and then my wild card of Cincy -3.5 was a total meltdown. I hate that Blake got that one over me. I hate it. But we move on. So, anyways, let's get this thing started with our first game of the week. All lines presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. That's not right. It disappeared. So we're going to start with Notre Dame and Syracuse because my overlay
here he
vanished.
goes.
No. This one's not on me.
Tricks
StreamYard,
and gimmicks. Bobby's pulling out all the tricks.
StreamYard has started deleting overlays on accident. So hold your horses. I got it fixed. We're going to go with Cincinnati at UCF. The Knights favored by 2 here. And Jameson, since you're in the lead, you'll start us off here. Cincy, they're ranked. They're still kind of floating around with the top 25 after that Arkansas loss. But have they looked impressive? I don't really think so. What do you think? Do you think they go into the bounce house and get a 2-point cover and a win?
I hate picking this game. Like, Central Florida has just been so hot and cold. Sometimes I'm watching them and I'm like, wow, I really like John Rice Plumlee. I think he's got something. And then last week to go out and he throws 3 interceptions and lost to East Carolina by 3 touchdowns. I just can't pick that. That's just terrible momentum. That's going to be hard to bounce back from. I'm just going to go Cincinnati +2 here.
All right, what
about
you,
you,
the
Blake?
Golden Knights. This one's an easy one for me. I think Cincinnati is one of the most overrated teams right now in the nation. Granted, their defensive metrics are good, but SMU is the best offense they played all year long, and that was SMU with their backup quarterback. Like, that doesn't inspire much hope that this defense has been tested. And John Rice Plumlee, he is hot or cold. I'll give Jameson that. Great runner, though. If Gus Malzahn can set him up in the run game and just get that guy moving, it's going to be hard to stop. And I like UCF at home. I think the bounce house is a good home field advantage. And lastly, like I told Bobby last week, I think 2-11 is Luke Fickell against the spread on the road. So that's now 2-12 after Bobby lost last week. So I just don't feel confident with this Cincinnati team. I think people are going to overrate them just because they have a little number next to them, when in reality, these teams are probably very similar.
Ty?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Blake said. I think that UCF is going to get the cover in this one. I think Cincinnati is a bit overrated just because of their schedule. The only team that has any merit to them on their schedule is Arkansas, and they lost that game, and Arkansas is not that good. And then, like Blake touched on, they just barely won in their last game against an SMU team without their best quarterback. So I really like the Knights to get the cover in this one. I think Mackenzie Milton is going to be able to put up some points on them and get the dub.
He is 100% still there, probably. But no, okay. So this is a spite pick for me. I'm gonna go with UCF. I'm mad at Cincinnati after what they did. Those bums completely collapsed in the fourth quarter. They had that game set, covered, done, sealed, delivered, and they blew it. And you know what? I don't trust them. I think the bounce house will be going for this one. This is a future Big 12 matchup. Next year, it'll be a Big 12 game. But UCF, just looking at their resume, they played a couple tough games, had that really bad Louisville loss, got beat pretty bad to Eastern Carolina. You know what? They're different at home. It's a different vibe at home. So give me UCF. Just looking at what they've done at home versus on the road, totally different team. So moving on, let's go with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish heading to the Not Carrier Dome. A lot of Syracuse in the weekend spread so far in the past couple weeks. Q's favored by 2.5, fresh off of their near upset victory against the Clemson Tigers. And you know what? The only reason this is 2.5 is because of the interlocking ND on the other side of here. I think Syracuse showed a lot to me. They kind of got outfoxed by Dabo Sweeney whenever Cade Klubnik came in, changed that game entirely. Kind of hit him with a Caleb Williams situation. But, I think they're good. I think they're going to come into the Not Carrier Dome and get a solid win, get a solid cover. 2.5 feels like a really good number for me here. So I'm going to go with the Orange Men here. Ty?
Yeah, weirdly enough, I think I have to take Syracuse in this one as well. I think there is tremendous upset potential in this game. And I think that goes beyond the brand value of Notre Dame. But I was pretty impressed by Syracuse last week against Clemson. Clemson, obviously, they've had their issues with sort of explosiveness and things like that. But I think that Syracuse at home is going to be able to just put together a good football game against this Notre Dame team that has definitely stumbled significantly this year. Although they are sort of recovering, I think Syracuse is going to give them another loss and send it back down to 500. So give me this is not a bit. I do not know what Syracuse's team is called. I think they're called the Fighting Illinois. So give me Syracuse minus 2.5.
Okay. Is Syracuse and Illinois, are those the same places? That's another theory we should take.
I think it's in Illinois. It's not. Yeah, it's not the same place. It's a city within Illinois.
Gotcha. This is Syracuse, Illinois. That makes sense. Blake, who you got here?
Yep, I'm going opposite of y'all. I got Notre Dame. I think there's one game I think back to with Notre Dame, and that's that UNC game where they played a ACC team with a great offense and basically shut them down. I just can't go away from that. That was a great game on the road. Similar circumstances against the UNC team was hot. I like the Irish. It does worry me. The Irish, I think, have a good defense, but their offense, Drew Pine, he can't throw it outside the numbers. I think outside the numbers, they rank dead last in the FBS, not Power 5, FBS. They can only run the ball, and they can throw it to their tight end across the middle. That's all they can do. They're very, very limited, but I think they have to pull it together because, who's Notre Dame's offensive coordinator?
Reese.
Tommy Reese.
Yeah, Tommy Reese.
Yeah, I bet Tommy Reese, if he can't pull it together in these last few games, he's gone after the end of the season. This is embarrassing how they're playing right now. I think that Fighting Irish pull it together, especially coming off an easier week with UNLV compared to Clemson. This is just a lot for the Orange, who's not experienced in playing these big games like this, to go up again next week against a traditional power. So, give me the Irish.
Gotcha. Jameson, who do you got?
I've been really back and forth on this one because watching that Clemson game, Syracuse offense really passed the eye test with me on a lot of measures. I think they have, good quarterback, running back, wide receiver that can go out and make them plays. But my decision was made before this by exactly what Blake said. And I think that they were really pumped up for that Clemson game. They probably put into a lot into it because obviously Clemson's the powerhouse, the ACC. Now they have to play a bunch of talent again in Notre Dame. And I understand that we talk about the Stanford loss and how ugly it was and Drew Pine and his inability and the Reese conflict and all of that stuff. I think this is a really close game, really, really close. And it's a toss-up for me, so I'm just going to go with +2.5 whenever I think it's a toss-up.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the next game. Much to Blake's chagrin, we've got Kentucky back again. They keep going through that revolving door where they're considered good, but they're not really that great. They're traveling to Rocky Top to take on the Tennessee Volunteers, who are favored by 12. Jameson, do you think Tennessee and the Vols keep things rolling and beat Kentucky in a way that would cover the spread here?
We're all picking Tennessee. I think we all know that. Like, that place is going to be electric again. Like, Kentucky coming in, obviously, you've just been very fickle for the past couple weeks in terms of their performance. Tennessee and Hendon Hooker, they've got it going. Like, Hendon Hooker is trying to win the Heisman right now. I think he just goes and explodes some more.
Blake?
Easy one. I think Kentucky's still one of the most overrated teams in the entire nation. It's a shame that we have polls that put a little number next to them that the casuals think, oh, this team must be good. They really aren't. They don't have a signature win all season. Their offense really isn't that good. Their defense, I guess you could say, is better, but I think this Tennessee poses so many problems on offense. They're basically running that Art Briles, like, air raid style offensive scheme, which is a cheat code when you have a good quarterback like Hendon Hooker. I think they just throw up points on them. I don't think Kentucky, they might get some resistance early on, but seeing how Alabama basically had to just duel them offensively and can't stop this offensive firepower that Tennessee gives, why do I trust Kentucky to somehow pull it together on the road in this great home atmosphere at Neyland? I don't see it. Overrated. I think they win by 20, 30. Give me Tennessee.
Fair enough. Ty, who do you got?
I like the Volunteers in this one. Something that we haven't mentioned is that Bama game was so ridiculously important for Tennessee in terms of the eye test for a playoff committee and for national discussion, but it didn't get them any closer to the SEC championship. This is Kentucky, as bad as they are, is, I guess, not counting Tennessee, the second most competitive team in the East that Tennessee is going to have to face. So this one matters a lot to Tennessee, and I think they got the nation's attention last week with that win against Bama. And I think now that they have the eyes on them at home, they're going to put an exclamation point on that and carry through the season. I think this is a great matchup for Tennessee, for people watching, and I think it's a great matchup for awards ceremonies for all of their guys that are up for consideration for awards, because like we've talked about, Kentucky, not good, but they have tricked people into getting that number next to their name that's going to put them better on the TV schedule, and it's going to make those highlights look even better when you run up the score on the team that has a number next to their name. So give me the Volunteers -12 in this one. I am legitimately surprised that this one is -12. I would have guessed something closer, not above 20, but something higher in the teens.
Yeah, 12 feels like a comfortable number for me. I feel really good about Tennessee here covering this. Look, the Vols just have it rolling, and Kentucky, there's a team every year in the SEC that is this. Kentucky is that ranking fodder. You know, they sit there around like 20s, and everybody like completely mows through them. That's actually really good. And it looks nice at the end with the resume and the CFP. You know, we'll just stack them in there. And they just are not on this tier with Tennessee at all. I think they're on a mission. It's a night game in Neyland. The Vols, I believe, are rolling out the all black uniforms, so that'll be something. And you know, look, that crowd can change a game, and I really think they go in and get a really big win here in the Battle of the Checkerboards. So I'm not going to waste any more time talking about that. That's a Tennessee cover. Moving on, we have the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. It's Georgia and Florida.
Ooh-wee.
Dogs favored by 22.5. We got this on the slate kind of last minute because look, it's a big game, big rivalry. And before we start this off, I want to ask Blake. Recently, there's been a lot of controversy, kind of coming from Kirby Smart, saying that this should be a home and home series because of recruiting, because they cannot get recruits to this game for some reason. It's against the rules. So I want to hear your take on that. Should this game be a home and home, or is it a crime to have it leave Jacksonville?
No, I like the neutral site. I'll always love neutral site rivalry games. I think it's so interesting whenever you get two different fan bases mixing together. I know the penultimate one, we think of OU Texas. That's such a great atmosphere when you have two fan bases that absolutely hate each other all in the same place. I understand for recruiting, yes, this is a good visual to give, but I do enjoy the occasional, and this is wild to me because I do enjoy the occasional rivalry game that is neutral site, because I hate the beginning of the season, the Chick-fil-A kickoff special presented by Nationwide, and the corporate stuff that you're having Georgia play in Atlanta, even though make it a home game. At that point, just make it a home game. But I do enjoy whenever actually two traveling fan bases are able to come together in one location and have a game together. So, no, I don't think we change it.
Yeah, no, it's one of the good ones, and it should stay there, And my thing is, this is one of the things where it would kind of downgrade the game by moving it to home and home. It would just become another big SEC game. It wouldn't be as special. Jameson, do y'all have any takes on this?
I always love neutral site games, so obviously
always.
That. I don't have.
Always, yeah.
What do you mean?
The beginning of the season,
in terms of rivalries.
Okay,
yeah, the season opening things. Yeah, I agree with Jameson. Those are not rivalries.
Yeah, no. Hey, I'm just saying, Oregon and Georgia have had long-standing hatred. So we must protect the sanctity of both Chick-fil-A kickoff games in Atlanta.
They suck, and remember when TCU had a home and home schedule with Ohio State that was going to be awesome, and then they changed it to one game in Jerry's World? That sucks. That sucks for everybody. It's not fun. You can't get good atmospheres in those NFL stadiums. Jacksonville, at least, is probably one of the crappier NFL stadiums, which is good for college fans because that's where you thrive. But when it's indoors, domed over, it's not the same. It really isn't.
Not at all. Let's get to the picks, though. I'll go ahead and start this festival off here with I like Georgia minus 22.5. Florida just has looked really off. I know this is a lot of points, but this game is about pure hatred, and I feel like Georgia is going to really kind of rub it in Florida here. I know they've struggled here and there with that road game at Missouri and everything, but for me, I see that more as a blip than a indicator of who they are as a football team. 22.5, obviously a ton of points, but they've been able to put away, not great teams pretty recently since that Missouri scare. 42-10 win against Auburn and a 55-0 win against Vanderbilt. Obviously, those teams are way worse than Florida, but I think they just go in and completely stomp the Gators in Jacksonville. Ty?
Yeah, I've got some vendettas, some bones to pick with this one. First off, I didn't even know this was a rivalry game until you guys started talking about it. I knew they played at a neutral site, but then earlier in this week, someone in the group text, I'm not going to name any names, starts talking about how this is like a top 10 in all of college football rivalry,
yes,
which is just ridiculous.
No,
it is.
No,
it
incorrect.
Is.
It absolutely
is.
It absolutely is.
There's like 4 national championships between both teams. Come on. Army-Navy has more national championships between the teams than this one does.
There's also 10. I said top 10.
I don't think
an actual rivalry game. Anyways.
I think, Army-Navy's like top 3. This is like top, I would argue top.
Okay, sorry. They got unmuted somehow. Anyways,
second
off,
okay,
they call it the world's largest cocktail party. We're talking about Florida versus Georgia and something. What is the cocktail? The cocktail is what? Cheap beer, and then you have like the aftertaste of a stale cigarette in your mouth. That's what the cocktail is. It's not a cocktail party atmosphere. They're in Jacksonville, Florida. I've been to Jacksonville, Florida. It's not a nice place. So yeah, everything about this is fraud, which brings me to the University of Florida, University of Fraud at football. Their quarterback a person who inexplicably is constantly mentioned on this podcast by certain people. Anthony Richardson, formerly known as AR-15, changed it for obvious reasons. I don't blame him. He's chasing the bag. But what he should be chasing is completions because he's not good at them. And he should be chasing some skills at football, which he is not good at. Florida has no chance in this game whatsoever. Give me the Georgia Bulldogs to come on down. I'm pretty sure Georgia invented Chick-fil-A. They're going to come down to Florida. I don't know that Florida has invented anything ever, really. And get the cover. Yeah, give me Georgia minus whatever it is. I lost track of my notes there for a second. But yeah, this is not a rivalry game. I guess, okay, I will cede the fact that this is a rivalry game. It is nowhere near the top 10 of rivalry games in college football. I would argue that Kansas State is a more relevant rivalry to the national picture than this one.
Okay. Woof. That is a take. I'll say that, yeah, but you're right. You know, Georgia does have Chick-fil-A. They have Waffle House. Florida, specifically the University of Florida, has provided no benefit to the beverage or food industry, not once.
Oh, I'm sorry. They invented Gatorade. They invented, hey, we accidentally put salt in the Kool-Aid instead of sugar. Let's just claim we did it on purpose, and then it's to rehydrate you. I'm sorry, University of Florida. I forgot that you guys invented salty Kool-Aid and then tried to pretend like it wasn't an accident.
I love it. I love it. Blake, who do you got?
I'm going down with the ship boys. You know where I'm going. Anthony Richardson has been not the best this year. I had him as my dark horse, or maybe like very heavily in the Heisman contention. Yeah, I had Florida over Tennessee in the SEC East. That did not go well. But we move on, and 22.5 points is too many points, especially for a rivalry game that has Billy Napier on the other side. We saw a similar situation against Tennessee earlier this year. Tennessee outplayed Florida, like there's no doubt about it, but Billy Napier wants to win these games. He wants to keep them close, and he's going to do everything possible to keep the game as close as possible, and we saw it. He was going for it on 4th and 10s in their own territory. He was going for every opportunity on 4th down to keep them in that game because he's seeking the win. I like that. That's key backdoor potential right there. We saw it against Tennessee. He did not give up. He was still running the plays. He wanted to get that cover. I like that with 22.5 points. It's a rivalry game. Throw out the record books. Too many points, 22.5 for a coach that's going to do anything. He's not going for typical, 4th and 5, let's just punt it. No, he's going for it. He wants to beat the best. So I like Florida, 22.5, too many points.
I feel like the last time I saw someone just go for it, we ended up with a tight end taking most of the quarterback snaps, and we and a team lost 49-0. But Jameson,
he never just went for it. Oh my god, that was the complete opposite.
No, I believe Bobby was talking about. I believe Bobby was talking about when this Georgia team faced an actual good team in the Oregon Ducks and exposed them 49-0.
I was saying
something that Florida has not done.
Levy just went for it, but he went for it in a bad way. You know what I mean?
No, anyways. He did not go for it. He didn't even try. He didn't give any. Okay, don't even give me a start on this BS again. The guy handicapped his whole offense and didn't give them any chance to succeed. Okay, but this is not what we're talking about. And Blake, I'm joining you. You ain't gonna be an island boy because we're picking Florida. And here's why. It's not as much about Florida. I'm not gonna try to pump sunshine about this Florida football team and DL for this pick. It's not gonna be that. It's just a rivalry game. And Georgia has been pretty darn good this year, but they're not invincible. We saw that in the Missouri game. And I just think that they might underestimate Florida a little bit and have a little bit of a sneaky close, part of this game, whether that be the first, second, third, fourth, or quarter. I just don't think 23, 24 points they can get to there. So I'm going to go Georgia by 20 points and Florida covers.
Fair enough. Moving on to our next game, the Ohio State Buckeyes favored by 15.5, traveling to Happy Valley to take on the Nittany Lions. This game being played at noon Eastern. I guess big noon. It is the big noon kickoff. Jameson, the Buckeyes have destroyed everyone they played, but they are one of 4 teams to have not played a single ranked opponent yet. They get that with the Nittany Lions on Saturday. Do you think they struggle at Happy Valley in their first kind of real test? I mean, since Notre Dame.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Notre Dame was ranked. It's just obviously
Currently
a different
ranked.
story now. But here's my thing. Can you tell me what TV network this is on again, Bobby?
I believe it. Is it not Fox?
Well, I know. Okay, what time is the game is what I'm trying to get at.
It's noon.
Okay, we're fading Penn State. We're picking Ohio State.
Fair enough. Blake, who you got?
I'm joining Jameson. It's Ohio State. I don't know why you do a Penn State. This is a night game in my mind. It's like whiteout under the lights against Ohio State. But this is what sucks about TV contracts is you get forced into these 11 o'clock, noon East Coast time slots where this game should be a night game. But I think Ohio State rolls them. I will say this about Ohio State. I'm not as impressed with them with their national championship hopes after the Iowa game. I know they rolled them in the end, but they were kind of struggling in that first half. Like, I want to see for a national championship contending team right there to really separate. They were only up 16 at half. I know they didn't allow, Iowa can't move the ball, but, come on, guys. It's nitpicking. I know, but Ohio State is considered in the top 2 or 3 with Bama, Ohio State, and Georgia. They're kind of considered in that tier. I haven't been impressed with them as much this year. I'm going Ohio State this one, but be wary, folks. I don't think Ohio State's going to do as much damage in the playoff if they don't turn it around. I really don't think so. I don't think they're any, semi-competent defense they go up against, whether it be Notre Dame or Iowa a little bit. They show some signs of struggle.
They did put up 55 on Iowa.
I know, but
I know it took a while to get there.
Yeah, it separates in the second half whenever they're just significantly better, but it's just they haven't played anybody yet. There are few small little tests. They're not even big tests. Iowa's defense is a test in a sense. They're going to give you some initial push, and they're failing at those. And it's when I see Georgia, when I see Alabama, when I see even Tennessee's offense right now, I'm what can I think about this Ohio State team as a whole? They're going to run through the Big Ten, but I don't think they're as much as a national title contender coming into the season as we thought. So I'm just wary. I'm wary. The soft schedule's hurting them.
And I don't think you can really look at that Iowa game because, to me, Iowa's just so putrid on offense. I believe someone ran the numbers and they would have been better off punting every first down. So.
They really are. They've only scored, I think it's 7 games with 7 offensive touchdowns. That's insane.
Awful.
They score almost just as much on the defensive end with pick sixes and random other crap. They're great at doing that, but it's sad in Iowa. But it scares me for Ohio State. They haven't been tested yet, and that's fine now when you're going through a soft conference like the Big Ten that everybody keeps on hyping up as some other superpower. I know they get the viewers, but come on, Michigan, you have 2 powers that aren't even really that good. At least have some depth. They have no depth. Ohio
Fair
State,
enough.
But Jesus.
Fair enough. Ty, who you got?
I have the Buckeyes in this one. I see this one going very similarly to when this Penn State team matched up against the Michigan Wolverines. I think that this Ohio State team is fairly similar for painting in broad brushes of they look like this on offense, they look like this on defense. Obviously, their game plans, their personnel, how they get the stuff done is very different. But I think that the Buckeyes are even better than this Michigan team that we saw Penn State play, and I think Penn State is the same Penn State that we saw play Michigan. So I expect, I expect the Buckeyes to get the cover here.
Okay, who posted that one?
I did not. I was
Who made
talking-
this comment?
That is me. That is me.
Okay, Blake,
delete.
it's called a private chat. It's the private chat, not the main chat, Blake.
This is why I told you, send me the link beforehand, so I just have viewer-only access and I know what the chat is.
Listeners, Blake just
look at
told
private
everyone
chat.
watching on YouTube that he needs to piss.
Blake needs
Wait,
to
what
take
happens if
lead.
I say put user in timeout? What does that do to me?
Well, you can't put ourselves in timeout, Blake.
Delete
think-
it, Bobby, delete.
I can delete it. I can't block ourselves though. That's the thing. It's just gotta sit there. It's gotta sit there. Oh man. All right. Anyways, Blake, go ahead. Take your leave. We'll leave this up for the time being. You could go ahead and boogie though. So all right, I got this one, and I'm gonna zig a little bit. I like Penn State here, and my thing is, it comes down to Sean Clifford. You know, when he's on the road, you get the bad Sean Clifford, where he's a total mess. He is all over the place, throwing picks, not being able to do anything. And look, I really do think that, you know, the noon atmosphere isn't great, isn't ideal for him. I'd feel way better about picking them if this was a night game, a whiteout, etc., etc. But Penn State knows how to show out for these sort of things. I think they're going to do enough to keep this game close. I think 15.5, that little hook kind of weirds me out. I think Penn State puts up a good fight here, unlike the last time we saw them on this big stage against Michigan. So I think that makes a difference.
We need to stall for a little bit because this next game, Bobby, we need Blake here in his seats because it's the game I feel like that all of us here on the Schooner Pod have been looking forward to the discussion.
Oh my God. Yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait to talk about this.
Okay, good. Blake's back.
So Blake has returned, and I'm pumped about this. It's the Butt Bowl. It's Baylor at Texas Tech. The Red Raiders, Cactus Gang, favored by 2 at home. It's Patrick Mahomes night. They're revealing his Ring of Honor entry. So you know the vibes are going to be the best they've been in Lubbock in several years. They'll be through the roof. It's a red out. It's going to be crazy. The tortillas will be flying. The batteries will be flying. And I'm going to kick us off. And look, after last week, the vibes.
Oh, shocker. Where's it going, Bobby?
The vibes are great.
Texas Tech.
The vibes are great. They absolutely smashed West Virginia. Like I knew they would go in and beat them. So you know what? Vegas is indicating something here. I think the energy is going to be through the roof. Baylor not good on the road. Ooh, they went in, lost to West Virginia on the road. Didn't look great there. They just don't look good on the road. And I think this environment is just going to be a lot. Give me the Red Raiders to cover 2 here and take home the Butt Bowl championship. I like them a lot here. And you know, honestly, it's just too many things combined together. Joey McGuire and the boys got things rolling. And it'll be the perfect primer into next week's massive showdown in Fort Worth. Ty?
Yeah, I don't know. Good on Texas Tech for celebrating Patrick Mahomes' Heisman. Certainly he won a Heisman. He's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Hot take.
Do you not think he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL?
I'm just obviously just
okay. So, all right.
fun.
Jameson disagrees. Jameson thinks Patrick Mahomes out of the top 10 in the NFL. I guess that's up for debate. But I think he's top 10 in the NFL as a quarterback.
Right next to Gerald McCoy.
Joe McCoy's not a quarterback, Jameson.
One of
That's
the
all
best
right.
NFL players.
I'll let you compose your notes. This one, I went back and forth on this one because, like Bobby, I'm like, what does Vegas know on this one? Why is Tech favored in this one? Both these teams, you know, I guess Texas Tech overperforming our expectations, underperforming what they were claiming. They thought they were doing something special this year. Baylor, certainly a fall off after last year when they won the conference, as we are all familiar with. So this one, I really had a game time decision on, and I don't. The atmosphere at Tech certainly worries me. I'm almost talking myself out of it. I'm going to go. This is true game time decision here. I'm going to go with the Red Raiders because I've constantly been wrong about picking Baylor, I've picked with Tech several times, and they have done me no wrong. I know Tech succeeds on the vibes that are down there. I've been told that, and I'm constantly wrong on Baylor. So certainly I'm going to go with Vegas here, I think.
Shall we even ask you, Blake?
Got 2 points. So first, we know who my pick is, or we already know. So we'll go into my first point. I think it's embarrassing that Texas Tech is doing this whole ceremony for Patrick Mahomes, who led them through like a whole bunch of 7-5, 6-6 seasons. Like, at best, they are just showing how incompetent they are out in Lubbock, that they had one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and they could only lead them to like mid to low tier bowl games. Like, that is sad. Like, if you're Patrick Mahomes, you can't show up to that. You were so misused. If you were in a competent system at that time, you would have won the Heisman. You would have gone on to what you did in the NFL. But why are you giving these guys any credit? Texas Tech didn't do crap for your career. It was more the Chiefs reaching for you, trading up for you. The smarts there saying, oh, he was mismanaged, let's get him there. Don't know why Patrick Mahomes is there. Second, Cactus Gang's all over my Twitter feed now. Like, it's become inevitable. And it's just the whole idea. They're like, why isn't our game versus TCU a sellout? Maybe because you're one of the worst teams in the Big 12 and nobody wants to come see you. Nobody cares about you. You're nobody's rival. So yes, you are not going to get the sellout treatment because nobody wants to come see you. Like, that's just the facts. The facts is Texas Tech has no rivals. Nobody really cares about Texas Tech as a rival. They want you to care. They want you to feel like, oh yes, Texas Tech, you are equals to us. No, you can't care about a rival when they go 6-6, 7-5 every season. The best status they can get is what they are now with the saddle. They are our tertiary rival. They are third. They are third behind. They're behind Baylor. They're behind SMU, and we have the saddle with them. That is fine. I know y'all care about that because that's the only trophy that gets exchanged to you every season because you can't win bowl games, you can't win actual games. So it's like, fine, you care about this game, but don't come crying to us when people don't want to come see this bum matchup next weekend because, like, they're just not good. Like, they're not good.
Didn't TCU, like, only limit the Texas Tech game if you bought, like, a mini plan? Though they didn't sell like regular season tickets. It's like you had to buy a mini plan or a season ticket.
Yeah, but next week we're giving it back to the teachers and the faculty that want to go. We set up a package for them to go. If you use your @tcu.edu email address, you're gonna get a great deal on those tickets. It's just like Texas Tech, go to your own games first, and then you could talk. You don't go to your own games. You still have a worse attendance percentage than TCU, who is like a third of your size, doesn't have the same alumni base, and yet you still complain about these things. I'm sorry. Baylor's going to roll. And I don't think Baylor's won there since the 90s, but Baylor's going to roll.
I feel like TCU might be ducking the smoke a little bit from the Raider fans, but that's okay.
No, we're not. Jameson. Like, we don't like. It's not a worthy game to go watch.
Well, why don't you sell single game tickets to it? You did it for OU.
We did. Yes, we did, but it doesn't matter
for rivalries. I like how Blake has gone on his fourth rant in his mini weeks about how no one cares about Texas Tech, and then anytime someone mentions Texas Tech, he goes on a 5-minute rant. So I don't
because it's just like they're all up. Like the problem is, I hate the Twitter algorithm. So like I added a whole bunch of like similar to how Jameson went for the Schooner Pod, adding a whole bunch of OU fans. I had a lot of TCU fans, but they engage with the Texas Tech fans, so I automatically get boosted those ones. So I constantly see Cactus Gang, that and like dumb OSU fans that are on my like not even the smart ones. Like I love OSU fans, but the dumb ones are always on my feed. They're just there. And it's like I can't escape it. Every time I log on to twitter.com on this thing, it's just all Cactus Gang. So I have to put them in the place. I'm not going to respond to them on Twitter to give them that satisfaction. They got to see my face when I say this. I'm not going behind some alias, anonymous, anything like that. I'm saying it to your face. Y'all suck.
But Bowden Blake, the man with no alias. Jameson, what's your take on this game?
I'm tired of Twitter giving me the suggested for you topic. It's starting to piss me off. Okay.
It sucks. It sucks. Especially when you get likes of other people that start popping up. You're like, I don't want to see this.
All right. Okay. So here's my pick. I understand the Texas Tech hype. I'm obviously not discounting it like Blake. But here's my thing with it. Freshman quarterback Bear Martin. Feel like this is his first real test versus a team that's going to have competent tape on him and that can actually scheme against him. West Virginia's defense ain't going to scheme against a quarterback. Come on. Like, we know that West Virginia's defense isn't anything. Dave Aranda, now he can go out there and make some schemes and put a freshman quarterback in an awkward space. Even though it's on the road and there's a lot of hype, I think that his game planning is going to show the Texas Tech Raiders a lot of problems, because this freshman quarterback really hasn't had much adversity, if any, at all this season. I think it's going to be a tough game. I like Baylor +2 the points. It's going to be close, but I think Baylor gets it at the end.
Ty, you're raising your hand. What's up?
Yes. Before we move on, I don't want this argued because I waited politely until the end. I would like to use my mulligan. I don't want this argued because I've never used one, so I do not know when the timing is appropriate, but I fully intended to as soon as I could.
We've usually done it before
again.
Other people make their picks. Like, if I say I picked a pick, that's what I've done in the past. And so it's not like you can hear people's arguments and then miss it. But if we want to do it, that's up to y'all.
Go
really
on, Ty.
I thought it was
Make that mulligan, buddy.
Yeah,
Make that mulligan.
I thought it was all about hearing people's arguments. It's like, yeah, this guy's quarterback's down. You're
Yeah,
like,
I'm pretty
crap.
sure.
Like...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how we used it. So I was going to let everyone finish.
Yeah, you can make that mulligan. Go for it.
I'm using my one mulligan for the season.
Texas.
Yeah, I'm using my one mulligan for the season. And taking Baylor. That doesn't make sense. I'm not trying to argue my case, but it seems like if someone else hasn't spoken yet, then it's not a mulligan. It's just you
waffled mid-pick.
Your pick mid, yeah.
It's anyway. I think that's a fair mulligan. That's a fair.
Okay,
mulligan.
we've refined it. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
It is done.
Cool. All right, moving on to our next game. It's the TCU Horned Frogs on the road to West Virginia Mountain Mama to take on the Mountaineers, favored by 7.5 here. The only undefeated team left in the Big 12, and potentially the only chance at a college football playoff bid. No pressure, Blake. Jameson, do you like the Frogs to go on the road here and get a win over Neil Brown, the Mountaineers, who are suddenly backed against a wall?
Yes, TCU continues to cruise. West Virginia shooketh just like Blaker. I just don't see West Virginia bouncing back after what just happened to them.
Like,
yep, the teams quit on Neil Brown. The luck continues. I see all these sharps and all these whales. They're always betting against TCU. They're like, it's going to collapse. It's going to come back to bite them. Nope. Still hasn't done it yet. And I'm going to keep on rolling. And even after the wheels fall off, I'm going to keep on rolling as well. But I think TCU, it's just better defense. I think our offense poses a lot of issues. If you think Texas Tech can put up a lot of points against them, when you see actual athletes on the field putting up points against them, I think TCU, great spot, 11 a.m., get them a little sleepy, just go in there, business trip, get it done, frogs on top. So give me the Frogs.
Fair enough. Hey, for them it's like noon, so technically the Frogs will be dealing with a slight time change. Ty, who do you like here?
Yeah, they're going to be sleepy at noon. I don't know. I said this earlier in the week, not on the podcast, unfortunately. It didn't come to me then, but I'm hopping on the Toad train. I don't know if Toads have trains. I know that Dallas has the Dart. I don't know about Fort Worth, if they have public transport like that. Maybe the Toads have trains. Maybe they don't. I'm hopping in the Toad Uber with TCU. I like TCU this year. You know, the OU loss was embarrassing and painful and all of that. And I really have to say I'm not a fan of the Emperor Zurich uniforms. It's just there's something a little bit off with it. It's a good rough draft, but they need to refine that. They're all blacked out ones are their best uniforms that they have for sure. Which brings me to my point. TCU has great branding. They have a great Brant, TCU is primed for an explosion. If you could invest in college football teams, spoiler alert, you can. I'd be looking at TCU. They're in a tremendous market, growing area. They have a relatively small fan base. I think it's under-tapped, really. They're pushing that whole DFW Big 12 team. They're pushing to get the, for lack of a better term, what a lot of people use, the Walmart fans. TCU has a fan base that's almost entirely alumni. They're trying to expand beyond that and do what Texas has done, what OU has done, what Oklahoma State has done, what so many other big programs do, because those people bring money too. There's a whole lot of people, that bring a whole lot of money to programs, believe it or not, that aren't necessarily alumni. That's how you get ticket sales. There's a whole lot of big donors for big schools that didn't actually go there. So I really like what TCU is doing, and you can't be doing anything better on field than winning. I think TCU, I'm still a little, I think the Cowboys may have it in a rematch, but TCU right now, probably going to win the Big 12. I think certainly they roll through this West Virginia team. I understand going out to West Virginia, some people sleep on that atmosphere being a little rough, but I think that's usually when it's in the nighttime. I really like TCU to go in here, play some good fundamental football, and really, get the cover. I guess I sort of fumbled that right at the end. Wow, but
that's all good.
Yeah, I like the Frogs. I'm on the Frog train. Maybe I've been hypnotized by the Hypno Toad.
Maybe. Blake, what was the quote you told me a couple weeks back when we were at the TCU game that I believe TCU's AD said about the Frogs? You want about how the goal was that the Frogs should be like the second favorite team.
Yeah, it's CDC, whatever, before he moved to Texas, his ultimate philosophy is like, you want TCU to be everybody's second favorite team. And like, that's how you kind of grow a fan base at a really small school that has like very like small living alumni base.
Yeah. And I think you do that by being weird, endearing, everything they've been, the uniforms have been, not quite Oregon level, but really cool. And then obviously everything with the Hypno Toad and the weird social media bits. I love what TC has been doing. So got to give them props. And, I think they roll again. We've been fading West Virginia all season long. And I feel like the Frogs and Sonny Dykes deliver the knockout punch to Neil Brown. He gets sacked on Monday. Get him out of there. Give me Frogs by 7.5. I think it's going to be I think they're going to cruise. So moving on to our next game, we have, it's not quite Farmageddon, but it's pretty farmy. It's Oklahoma State at Kansas State. The K-State Wildcats favored by 1 point here after their loss to the TCU Horned Frogs. So I'll go ahead and get us started here. I've been on K-State a lot this season. I like them a lot. Obviously, I kind of think that last week, having Will Howard play most of that was pretty difficult. Even though Skylar Thompson didn't look good, and I guess the 3 plays he played that first drive, and Howard did do a pretty good job in that first half. He just, he's going to blow up. So here's what I think. I think Thompson is going to be ready to go. It sounds like he's going to be a decision to go. I'm going to bet on that. I like K-State at home. That atmosphere does a lot. Skylar Thompson. Sorry.
Yeah, Clip.
My bet. Wait, no, shit.
Martinez.
Taylor
Thompson?
Adrian.
No, Tyler. It's Taylor Martinez.
Martinez. I'm sorry.
I've heard Blake call him Taylor 3 times on the pod this year.
My
just
God.
putting that out there.
Adrian Martinez, not Skylar Thompson. He lives rent free in my brain at this point after all the times he dealt horrid OU. Yeah, Adrian Martinez. My bad. I think he does a good job and leads K-State to victory here. OSU kind of on the ropes a little bit last week. Needed a bit of a Texas shutdown, which they keep doing under Sark. But on the road, I think it's going to be too much, and K-State gets the win here. I like what's going on here. I think they get a win with a healthy Adrian Martinez.
Curious. Known OSU shill Bobby picks against OSU. What is the move here? I'm wondering. What is going on the OSU chessboard where they have their agent Bobby picking against them here in this game? Certainly makes me wonder. Makes me worry that maybe OSU is planning on throwing the game or something like that. Because again, known OSU agent. I like the Cowboys in this one. I think the Cowboys, they've been banged up. Spencer Sanders has been banged up. He is a good quarterback. He's the best quarterback that's going to be out on the field in this matchup. I think OSU is fundamentally a better team. Do they have better branding? That's arguable. I like the color purple. I think it's cheap to try to knock off the Cowboys and somehow do it worse. So I think maybe OSU gets the uniform battle there. But I like the Cowboys in this one because I think we're basically picking it straight up. So give me OSU +1 to, I think they get the win outright, but I think they lose by less than 1.
That's fair.
At least they lose by less than 1.
If they lost by 1, it would be a push and you win anyways. So
okay.
Blake,
Yeah.
Blake, who do you got?
I'm rolling with the Wildcats. Whether it's Adrian Martinez playing or it's Will Howard, I feel comfortable with both. Will Howard made some incredible throws versus TCU. Like, I know he's kind of been a meme because when he came in for Skylar Thompson in the past year, maybe even 2, but like, he looked bad, deer in the headlights, didn't know what to do with the ball, but he made some big-time throws, and it's kind of ironic that the one throw he really needed to make in that game to keep him keep him in it, he couldn't make it, but he had some big-time throws in that game. So if you're with Will Howard, you're going to spread it out a little bit more, you're going to throw the ball around. If it's Adrian Martinez, you're just going to run it down their throat. I like what K-State is as a team. They're fundamentally sound. They are a tough out. And what scares me about the spread is, like, you would think OSU would be favored by a little bit more, but probably showing just Spencer Sanders. Like, I'm just worried about how his health factors into this, and I just like where K-State is more compared to OSU. I think OSU just, like, gates when it comes to on defense. They can't stop anybody this year, which shows, I think, Jim Knowles, great defensive coordinator that made them a defensive powerhouse these last few years. But OSU can't stop anybody. I like K-State, fundamentally sound at home. I just feel like this line is just a little too low. So give me K-State.
Jameson?
This is the pick that's been screwing with me, and what's crazy, it's legitimately a -1. I can't decide on it. I really can't, because I think Oklahoma State's run defense is susceptible to getting the game completely taken out of the hands of the pace that they want to play. But Oklahoma State has been coming up in big moments, and can't really say that for Kansas State as of recently. Adrian Martinez being questionable. There's a lot, that's going into this week for them where there's uncertainty. If there wasn't any uncertainty at the quarterback position, I'd pick K-State. I can't follow with them. I'm going to pick Oklahoma State just because they're winning big games and they've got momentum. But this one's hard for me.
I think Vegas has it properly, like the spread proper here. It's really that narrow, and home team getting 1 point or like -1. I think that's fair. I think it's really as close to a toss-up as it gets. But Vegas seems to be slamming pretty hard on Oklahoma State here. I believe the line started at K-State -2, so this has been shifting. All right, next up, the game that everybody wants to see. It's the Oklahoma Sooners traveling to the Iowa State Cyclones on the road in Ames, an 11 o'clock kickoff, meaning that people go in, get their chili at 6 a.m. They could roll right onto the game. That's not an unreasonable amount of time between chili and kickoff. Sooners coming off fresh from a bye week after a win. And Jameson, did you see enough in that Kansas game to make you feel comfortable in picking Oklahoma -1 to win on the road in Ames?
No, I didn't. So I'm not confident in this pick, but let's break things down. So essentially, Oklahoma gets a much needed bye after getting a win when they needed it very badly and put out a very good offensive performance. But like I said, and I'll continue to say, and it's going to be like a broken record, was very scripted, and Kansas gave everything that we needed to succeed in that. Iowa State won't do that. They're tough. They're gritty. They've got a good defense that holds good teams to low points. My thing is, though, we're going to score. With Dylan Gabriel healthy, there's going to be plays where we're going to score points. I just don't know if Iowa State's conservative offense is really good enough to get them across the line. I think they're pretty one-dimensional. Their run game is extremely weak, and Hunter Dekkers is a type of guy where if all of the weight has to get on his shoulders, like he's never had that. This is his first year starting as quarterback. So that's a lot playing a team like Oklahoma, having Billy Bowman back, who, like we said, we thought is the best defender on this team. I think this one is close, will be frustrating, will give us headaches. But I think Oklahoma pulls away and wins by, I think they'll get a last second touchdown and win by 10, but it won't look like that. It was a close game the whole time.
Wow. Okay. Blake, who do you got?
Iowa State ain't that bad. I'm not jumping off the boat now. I see this and I'm like, oh, it's so tasty. People are gonna think, OU, yes, better team, like 1 point spread. This is just basically a pick'em. Nope. Not in Iowa, not in Ames, Iowa. Defense, good. Offense, the most mid you will ever see. But I don't care. Iowa State really isn't that bad. They're a solid, well-coached Big 12 team that is punching above their weight, and I like their defense. I like anytime I feel like OU has gone up against a somewhat living defense this year, kind of got punched in the mouth a little bit. I like the Iowa State win here. I think Vegas knows something, so.
Ty, who you got?
We did, minus Blake, we did a whole podcast earlier in the week on that one. If you haven't listened to that one, I would certainly recommend going and listening to that, because there's no way that I can get as fired up currently as I was on that one. In short, OU is going to embarrass Iowa State. Some might think it's close, right? And I agree with Jamison. Maybe we get a last-second touchdown and win by 10. Guess what?
You
That
can't
means we
embarrass.
covered. Guess
you
what?
Can't embarrass
Guess-
and.
Sorry, Blake got unmuted there. Guess what? That means we cover by 10 times the spread. That is math. That is how math works. I'm having to explain this because there might be people from the state of Iowa listening. Okay, imagine you have.
Yes, I forgot
Oh
about
my
this.
God.
And you have
The
a
Iowa
piece
feud.
of corn. You have a piece of corn in both hands. Okay, corn in. This is right. This is called right, or there's right and left. There's way too many things to explain. If you have two pieces of corn, you have one in each hand. That's two. That's how math works. 1 + 1 = 2. Learn more. Go to wikipedia.com and learn math if you're from Iowa. If you know how to get on the internet, they certainly have internet because they found the podcast one time. Give me the Sooners -1 in this one. That's easy. I'm picking who wins. I'm an OU fan. Of course I'm going to pick OU, unless my name is Bobby or Jameson during Red River and most of this podcast history when they've been picking against OU. Snakes
Pardon?
in the grass. Snakes
That's Blake.
in the grass. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
I've picked
No.
OU to cover every
yes,
single
yes.
game this season.
Yeah, Jameson
Gross.
did.
What have I
Jameson did pick us, so he is not a snake in the grass currently. That's why
Just
he's winning.
stupid.
Would you look at that? But anyways, I'm sorry, Jameson. That was rude of me. Bobby is a snake in the
Very,
grass
very rude.
for picking against OU and Red River. Give me the Sooners -1.
And I was totally right. I was absolutely right in that.
What?
That being said,
You were?
oh,
I didn't remember.
jeez. Anyways, I'm gonna say this. I think Vegas, much like how they had that Oklahoma State, K-State line pretty right, I think they have this one pretty right too. I think this is going to go down to the wire, because as we mentioned, as y'all mentioned, Iowa State's defense is awesome. It's very good. It's going to give Dylan Gabriel a ton of fits, and I think that at the same time, their offense can't move the damn ball. They're one-dimensional. Do we have enough on defense to just slow down Xavier Hutchinson and a bit of a limited Hunter Dekkers? That's going to be ultimately what it comes down to. But at the end of the day, I think OU's offense makes enough plays, is just consistent enough to get OU across the line barely. I think they squeak by a field goal. Give me the Sooners -1. I do not bet on this game. Do not bet on it at all, because I think this is a very tough one. If you're an OU fan, I would not be, taking all that hopium from the Kansas game right now, because you don't know. I think this is going to be the absolute benchmark of how OU continues the season. How we look here, I think, will be kind of how we look down the road. especially for that Jeff Levy offense. So I'm going to go with the Sooners, but I think it's going to be damn close. I think it's going to be a really, really, really good game. So anyways, let's move on to my favorite pick of the week.
Why aren't the brakes working?
Because I cut the brakes! Wild card, bitches!
Brakes, guys, I can't stop this fast.
So I get to kick this off because I am last, because that makes sense somehow. And I'm going to roll with a game between what you would call two frauds. You have Ole Miss on one hand, who, and up until last week, was a top 10 team. You're just kind of waiting to fall apart. Oh no, Jameson had this one, didn't he? And
That's the third week in a row I'm having to shift in the middle of the episode.
we
And
can-
I've
Oh,
been-
I have it. I have this game as well. So
This is
I
also
am-
Fine.
What, did we all pick this game?
if it's opposite of
No,
Bobby, then
I have
I'm
a- I have an
100%
alternate.
choosing
I have
it.
an alternate. There's no way that you and Bobby.
I
are
have an
opposite. Let's let
alternate
him
too.
finish.
If we if we all pick this game, let's just pick the game and then pick another one. Just double wild card it for no reason.
Man, that puts in his.
Yeah.
I like the 10.
That's
a week.
okay. If that's lame,
Yeah.
then it's lame. Okay, I'm gonna go Ole Miss -1.5 here though, because
Do
I
it, Blake.
never got
Blake
around.
has
to
to pick A&M now. Blake
I
has
did-
to pick
that-
A&M now.
I did never get around to who they were playing, but Ole Miss got a little bit exposed against LSU. Had that really hot start, fell apart late. Whatever. But it's not anything remotely close to the dumpster fire going on at Kyle Field in College Station. That loss to South Carolina was stanky, just stinky. Throat just whiffed right out the window. Horrible stuff. Oh, and then you know what? You know what that also smelled like? It smelled like a couple players getting suspended for weed as well. Things are going bad. Jimbo, I think, is only here for the money that he's going to get in this buyout come December. Look, that team is checked out. I think it is just going to be too much to overcome. Ole Miss -1.5 on the road. I love this line. I love this pick. So give me the Rebels on the road to take out a complete mess of a Texas A&M program at the moment. Ty?
Phew, I'm glad I'm shifting to my alternate now. Come to think of it, I don't want anything to do with that game, actually, as soon as you mentioned the LSU thing. So my alternate, my beloved Ducks, I picked against them, and I must atone for doing so. I cannot believe that I fell for the DTR UCLA hype against my beloved Ducks. I kicked them while they were down too much for that Georgia loss, and I should have known better as a known Duck sympathizer. I'm wearing green right now, also to atone. I like Oregon -17 against Cal. I went to our wonderful sponsors at DraftKings to find that line. Shout out to DraftKings because they do truly support this podcast and American small business. So support DraftKings for supporting American small businesses with their sponsorships. But I like the Ducks. The thing about Cal is they've had a decent defense, I guess, some are saying, throughout the year. They haven't really played that many amazing people, but Cal just can't put points up. And I really like the Ducks now because they have been tested. They started out just getting absolutely kicked in the teeth. The bell rang. They started the match. Georgia came in with a head kick right to their temple. But they've righted themselves from that, and now they're down there and they're swinging against everyone that they play. I love where the Ducks are going right now, even if I was trying to be objective about it. So give me Oregon -17 against the Cal Bears.
Fair enough. Blake, who you got?
You know who I got. I had A&M place that bet today, feel confident about it, and Bobby goes on the other side. Once again, third week in a row, me and Bobby against each other. 2-0. Bowden Blake has the advantage right now, and he's just kind of a square when it comes to these picks. Look, Ole Miss, they have that number besides their name. They've gotten some hype this year, but their defense hasn't been anything impressive. Any team with a pulse has been able to drive the ball against them. Last week versus LSU, an absolute embarrassment, losing by 25. I know it is in Death Valley, but oh my god, we called that from a mile away. We knew like Ole Miss was gonna blow it, just because like this team hasn't played anybody. They have pieces. We know the transfer portal pieces, but really, they're an all right team. They're an all right team that had an easy schedule going up to it. A&M, yes, it's gonna be probably Connor Wegman with the start. Dual threat guy. We're going to see what he gets with a full week of practice and playing in a game. I think he's a little bit more dynamic than Haynes King or Max Johnson. That's kind of the guy I wanted. I heard Johnny Manziel 2.0, but it's embarrassing last week, and I think Ty had a good analysis. The opening kickoff really just set him back, but I don't think A&M still played competitive that game. They played competitive against Alabama in the same house. I think Vegas knows something. They're not giving up on A&M just yet. Give me the Aggies.
Okay, fair enough. Jameson, who you like?
Yeah, I wanted to pick Ole Miss. I really did. Just there's so much going around.
Do
Texas
it.
A&M.
Do it.
No, I'm not gonna card as other people. I just feels nasty for them. We have so many things to pick from, and I just don't want to pick the same thing. We've been doing that for the past 9 picks. So I had a backup, and I guess I was thinking about two of them, and Bobby pissed me off by picking Ole Miss. So I saw on his Twitter picks this week that he's starting to get greedy picking his money lines. And he picked Washington State money line versus Utah tonight that kicks off in 15 minutes. So I said, boom, give me Utah -7. We're fading Bobby too. And I'm going to say Utah.
Ooh, I disagree.
You can't make that pick. It's going to be.
Can.
Well, by the time
it started.
By the time the
Okay,
podcast listeners
fine.
get this, the game will be over.
Okay, I'll pick something
Okay.
different. Damn it.
Bobby!
I don't
It's fine.
necessarily disagree with Bobby, but
I'm
that
totally
seems
right.
like a
No, it's fine.
Yeah,
I
but
understand.
it's just-
Okay,
it's
most
like
of
it's
the
thought-
listeners
I
and
thought
viewers are on the
that's just,
podcast side,
strategic
so it
move.
would be a dead pick by
Strategic
then.
move.
Don't
Okay, that's
don't
fine.
put it up. Don't take it up with me.
Possible
Take it up with
gamesmanship.
Mr. Harry's house over here. What did it see, Harry Styles?
I saw Post Malone, and it was great.
Same difference.
Okay.
And I know
All right.
Bobby would be dying to go to Post Malone.
Wait. Post Malone was at the Harry Styles concert with you?
Oh yeah. All right.
just vibing
let
together.
me just zag then. Let me fade Keaton Slovis in Pittsburgh. Pick UNC at home. I honestly know that Duke game kind of scared me a little bit with North Carolina. I didn't think that they were as dominant as they were going to be. But Pitt just has not looked it recently. Last game, Keaton Slovis 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. Only could score 10 points. Going against an offense like North Carolina with 3 points, I'm going to pick UNC.
Yeah. For the record, I really liked this Thursday slate because I like Wazoo at home, and I've been big on Va Tech. By the way, they're playing right now, and they're up 14-3 on NC State. So,
Bobby, I was with you on Wazoo. I was hoping you would let Jameson pick that. I thought it's the loser side, to be honest.
What from
enough.
Wazoo?
I
Just
really-
out of curiosity, has shown y'all from the past couple weeks that you're optimistic in them because they got worked by Oregon State. They just seems like they're skidding right now ever since they showed or they gave Oregon a fight. But I just haven't seen anything like to really show me anything optimistic from them.
Wazoo on the Palouse is different.
Yeah.
Get out on those weird, Eastern Washington
Okay, it's
plains.
just a Wazoo at home. Okay, I get where you're coming from now. It's
It
just,
is.
It's
It
just
is
the
also-
aspect of
it's-
them being at home, not as much of their football team as of recently.
I think Cam Ward's still a good quarterback, and they've posed problems to teams this year. Like we saw Oregon, they almost beat Oregon. They really were in that game for about 75% of it, which made it so frustrating when they almost didn't cover, but then got the backdoor cover. Wazoo can play some good football every once in a while. So
They just look really different at home as opposed to being on the road. By the way, if you're in the
I see that argument.
if you're in the area of Washington State, you can get tickets for as low as $4. So get on down to whatever Pullman,
Last
Washington.
minute. Get out there as soon as possible.
Go out to
Within
Pullman and
13
get
minutes.
yourself a $4 ticket, the price of a hot dog. So good stuff.
Well, Blake likes them because they're in TCU's fight song.
What?
Riff Ram
Aren't
Wazoo.
Wazoo.
Oh,
Wazoo, yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's
Jeez.
great. Noted rival of TCU is Washington State.
Yeah,
no,
they're
that's
going
not
to
the
riff
words.
ram them.
that's not the words.
Riff. What? I don't know. We're
Ba. It's Ba.
It's riff. There's not a
Riff
Wazoo
Ram.
in there.
No, it's Bazoo. It's Ba,
It's
like a
Wahoo
sheep.
at one point.
Like
yeah.
with-
Yeah, Wahoo.
Why?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it gets close. It gets close to saying Wazoo, but they don't. Anyways, all right, boys, that's the slate. So I feel pretty good. Don't like being opposite of Blake as usual, but this time we're gonna get one back. We're gonna get revenge for that just garbage Cincinnati loss.
I think you do. I think he's just buying too much into the Wegman hype. He's been hearing about him as of recently. He's thinking he's just going to be
No,
amazing.
it's just it's a square pick. It's like you take in the storylines. Like Vegas factors in the storylines to their numbers. You're not going to get an edge by you thinking, "Oh yeah, I saw they got suspended." Vegas knows that. And like
in the
they're gonna get a
locker
whole
room,
bunch.
that's different than a different storyline. You know how those go.
They baked it into the numbers. It's just a
Baked.
square pick. Square pick.
Well, not only that, but like you, I think your thing was like, oh, they'll like their defense can't stop anybody with a heartbeat, like with a pulse. I'm like, when did Texas A&M have anyone on offense with a pulse?
They haven't scored 24 points at all this year. Like more than 24 points. So
yeah, they got to the limit against South Carolina and then stopped.
But Vegas knows something. So
well, I mean, Vegas does have my side favored, so you know. Being
a favor, Bob. It's a square. Get the squares like you that are like, oh, miss, I see that little number next to them. They must be better.
I don't know.
Just like look at the situational
advantage. It's a purely Texas A&M. It's a purely Texas A&M based pick. You know that. I wasn't like, oh, look at ranked Old Miss. You know, oh my goodness. You know, they were 7 last week. I didn't pick them because they were 7 last week. I picked them because A&M is on fire right now. It's a disaster.
Okay.
So
okay.
Ty,
what the hell is a bazoo?
It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense.
So,
trying to make sense of nonsense.
Yeah. That the Riff Ram chant was actually created basically as a parody of Texas A&M's weird little whatever the hell they do. So it's good stuff. But all right, folks, that's all we got for this week. We hope you enjoyed watching along live on YouTube, or if you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, we appreciate you doing that as well. Make sure to show us some love. If you haven't already, give us a 5-star rating. We would love to see that. And then hit a subscribe if you're just passing through on YouTube. So, yeah. Anyways, for me, Jameson, Boaton Blake, and Ty Lee, this has been the Schooner Pods Weekend Spread. And yeah, that is it for the week. So y'all have a good weekend out there and good luck.